Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel and another video. In today's video I want to do a bit of a recap on my solo trip to Wales and just give you a few of the things that I thought about before I went and when I booked it, and also while I was there, just to give you a bit more of an insight into what it was like going on holiday on my own for the very first time. If you do like this video, please do give it a like, share it and subscribe to my channel. Remember that subscribing is absolutely free. So I'd been thinking about going on holiday on my own for quite some time and was trying to pluck up the courage to go. And previously I'd always had somebody else to go with, to share in the decision making, to decide where we go for evening meals, and also to plan the journey. So it would be quite different this time, going it alone, and quite scary. But I wanted to get away, so I stopped thinking about all of the reasons why I shouldn't go, and I got it booked. Just go for it, I told myself. What's the worst that can happen? So I decided to start with a short break and a destination that I knew fairly well, as I felt this would ease me in gradually. I had been to Llandudno and Conwy many times before because, as I mentioned in the video, my dad had a lodge there for many years, and I chose a hotel that would provide me with a tranquil and comfortable getaway. Looking back now, it may have been easier for me to have stayed in a hotel that was more in the centre of where I wanted to go, so that I could just walk to the places that I wanted to visit, rather than having to get in the car and then navigate to where I was going. So I did find that quite difficult, and also trying to find places to park, and also being security conscious because obviously I was a woman on my own. So the hotel that I stayed in was quite out in the sticks, although it was absolutely beautiful and I thoroughly enjoyed staying there. As I say, it was a little bit out in the country. So that is one thing that I would change the next time I go on my own. Another thing that I had never done before on my own was go to dinner. And in the video you saw me go for dinner, and I did find that a bit of a challenge, and I did think about not going at one point, but I pushed myself and I'm really glad that I did. So I was amazed at how comfortable I actually felt sitting there in the dining room on my own, with lots of people around me who were looking at me, but not in an unpleasant way, probably just wondering why I was on my own, which is exactly what I would do, or I do, when I see people on their own. So that was my first solo holiday. I do hope that you enjoyed that vlog. Now I'd like to share a few tips with you that I sort of learnt on that trip, and also things that I thought about before I went that you might find useful if you decide to go away on your own. So the first time deciding to go on a solo trip can be equally daunting and exhilarating. But let me give you a few tips to get you started on making that journey and adventure fantastic. So number one is push your comfort zone. As I mentioned, traveling on your own can be quite daunting at times, but also it allows for greater flexibility. So you can decide where you want to go. Nobody else to ask. There's nobody else there to disagree with you. So that can be a very positive point. I have travelled quite extensively over the years to some wonderful and exotic places, having worked for British Airways and made the most of the discounted flights and holidays that they offered to staff members. But I'd never considered going on holiday alone until I was faced with a yearning to visit a place from the past and I'd no one to go with. This was when I made the decision to go it alone. Number two, build yourself up. So if you're a little bit nervous about committing to that first solo trip, start by doing the following. Start small, so start by going to a cafe on your own, or a restaurant, like a casual restaurant, for an early dinner, and get comfortable with being on your own and eating on your own. And this will help to stop you from thinking that people are looking at you and thinking that you're weird, because they're not. And then you could, like me, take a mini solo trip. So you could travel to a place where you don't know anybody and it is either familiar to you or it's not, and then get into the habit of staying in a hotel or whatever accommodation you want to stay in, and get used to sightseeing on your own and booking all of the travel and organising it all on your own. So number 3 is do your research. Planning is one of the best ways to avoid things going wrong, and getting to know your destination will also give you more knowledge and confidence as you're walking around and obviously avoiding danger. You'll want to read up on the best areas to stay in, and also restaurant options or pub options if you're fancying to go into a pub on your own as well. And if you're looking to meet new people, and also the places to avoid. So I would recommend using YouTube, as there are lots of videos on YouTube of probably the places that you want to go to. So this will really help, but also look on Facebook or forums and take advantage of the experiences that other people are sharing. Number 4, tackle nerves and anxiety. I find that being well prepared and organised and ticking things off a list can be very cathartic, so that you don't get solo travel anxiety just before you go. But you'll also need to distract yourself. So set aside the time for planning the travel, but then try to think about it as little as possible, and do other fun things like seeing your friends or, you know, whatever you normally do. So just try not to think about it too much. And then identify what actually stresses you out the most and have a clear solution, even if it involves splashing a little bit of extra cash. So for example, if it's about staying in an unknown place and not knowing how to locate things, which was what stressed me out the most, I then decided to stay in a boutique hotel. Yes, it was a little bit more expensive than it could have been. However, it made me feel quite calm and more relaxed because everything was provided for me. In addition, you can also try some self-care techniques such as yoga, which, as you know, I do a lot, and also some meditation, which can really help you to take your mind off things and help you to chill out. Number 5 is stay safe while travelling solo. There is a lot to say on this topic, especially when you are travelling solo for the very first time, but here are a few basics. Arrive at a new destination well before dark, as this gives you a much better idea of the location of everything, but also the safety aspect. Take the business card of the hotel with you when you go out for the day. If you start talking to anybody during the day, don't tell them where you're staying, as your accommodation should be your safe zone when you're travelling solo. If someone is bothering you, then be prepared to be impolite. If possible, keep your money and your credit cards in multiple different places. So what I did was I kept some in the car, which is probably not a good idea, but I did just a little bit. I kept some in the hotel in one bag, and then I always had some in the bag that I had on me. Remember to keep your phone fully charged at all times. This was a big one for me, and something that I learned during my first solo trip, because I use my phone for multiple things, like for vlogging, for my car navigation, and speaking to people. And I did get into a spot of bother a couple of times because my phone ran out of charge. So now I have 2 portable phone chargers, which are going to be coming with me everywhere. Remember, as you travel, you're in a holiday mindset and could be in a different culture. Both factors can affect your ability to judge situations. To keep you safe in a variety of situations, it's a good idea to have a clear sense of your safety rules before you actually go. And most importantly, trust your instincts. So I hope this video was helpful with the tips that I learnt, and I really hope that you do start to plan your solo trip and most of all enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.